Well, it's been months of no hockey, but it looks like the 2020 Stanley Cup Playoffs are finally almost upon us. And so it's time for me to attempt to predict how these crazy, expanded, wild COVID playoffs are going to play out. And when I say attempt to predict, I mean really attempt to predict. I don't think anyone on Earth has a hope in hell of accurately predicting these playoffs, because usually you can look at how teams have performed going into the playoffs, you can look at the regular season stats like they actually mean something, but now because no team has played a game since early March, really we have no idea how any team is going to play, especially since there's going to be one exhibition game for each team before they jump right into the first round. Literally anything could happen these playoffs. We don't know. We don't have any idea how this is going to shake out. So when I say attempt to predict these playoffs, it is the most true of the word attempt, I think, of any prediction video I've ever made. So to start things off with the new preliminary round, which is teams not in the top 4 of each conference playing off to see who makes the final 8. Now the interesting thing about this round is it is a best of 5 series as opposed to a best of 7. So each game means that much more, and if a team starts off with a slow 3 games, that's the end of their playoff run. So first off, Pittsburgh, Montreal. The Habs, just barely snuck into this 24-team playoff format, and they draw a tough team in the Pittsburgh Penguins, who had 15 more points than them in the regular season. Penguins, in the playoffs, you should never, ever doubt Sidney Crosby. He turns into a monster in the playoffs. Adding a fully healthy maybe him, because there's been some issues with him in practice recently, but he'll probably play with a fully healthy Evgeny Malkin, and the Penguins are a force to be reckoned with. The Habs have hope if Carey Price becomes superstar Carey Price like he has in the past, but also they don't know yet if Max Domi is going to decide to play because he doesn't want to risk his health as he has diabetes, so they don't even know if their top forward is going to be there, and they're going up against the Penguins, who have 2 of the top forwards in the NHL. So I have to say the Penguins are going to take this round. Canes Rangers. Rangers this season accelerated what would have been a rebuild by signing Artemi Panarin. They also got Kaapo Kakko, who hasn't been excellent, but he's been serviceable. The Hurricanes, though, just have something of a team. They have some great depth on defense, some solid forwards options up front with Aho and Teravainen. They don't win the goaltending battle. Mrazek and Reimer are good, but they don't have the 3-headed monster that the Rangers have with Shesterkin, King Henrik, and Georgiev. But I think overall the Canes have a better team, and while the Rangers might have the goaltending to steal a game or two, I think overall the Hurricanes should be able to win this series. Islanders Panthers. This is an interesting one. Seems like whenever the Panthers made the playoffs, they play against the Islanders. That's weird. But Islanders-Panthers could really go either way. The Islanders have a better system. Their goaltending is better if Bob doesn't regain Bobrovsky form, which with a break is very plausible. Both teams are built around depth with a couple of younger star players, Barkov on the Panthers, Barzal on the Islanders. The Panthers also have Huberdeau, though. I think overall the Panthers probably have more high-end offensive talent, but in terms of systems, I think the Islanders are a bit better. This one is a very close one, but a part of me sees Barkov and Huberdeau popping off and wanting a playoff series win, which they have never gotten in their career. And just even though this isn't a real playoff series, I feel like I can see them pushing harder to get that right now. So I think the Panthers are going to take this one, but this is going to be a very, very tight series. Leafs, Blue Jackets. Blue Jackets can take highly offensive teams like the Leafs, as they showed by beating Tampa in last year's playoffs, but they aren't going to have Josh Anderson. They also don't have the depth and high-end talent that they had in last year's playoffs after Duchesne and Panarin and Bobrovsky all have walked. So yes, the Blue Jackets have a history of pulling off upsets like this, but also this isn't last year's Blue Jackets. They're still very good. Tortorella has worked magic with this team. They've gotten some fantastic goaltending, but with everyone off for 3 months, this is like an off-season scenario, and the Leafs have traditionally the past couple of years been very, very good at the beginning of October, very good at the beginning of the season. So when everyone's still getting settled in to NHL level hockey and settled into the systems that they need to play, the Leafs have the talent that is able to take over in those styles of games where people haven't settled in yet, where players haven't settled in yet. So I think the Leafs are going to be able to take this series. It would be incredibly close if it was at the end of a regular season, but because it's coming after a 3-month break, I think the Leafs have the offensive talent and just raw skill that's going to be able to take over and win them the series. Now moving over to the Western Conference, Oilers Blackhawks. Speaking of raw skill being able to take over series when teams are off for 3 months, the Edmonton Oilers have that in droves. Leon Draisaitl, Connor McDavid, hell, even Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, and they've just had a very good season with those few players. And also, Mike Smith has been shown to be a solid playoff performer in the past. The Chicago Blackhawks have been here before, but they're also a team that's aging and on the downturn. Their defensive depth isn't what it used to be, so I think the Edmonton Oilers are going to take this one. Predators, Coyotes. The Coyotes started off the season well, and then after the Taylor Hall trade, they've turned into a bit of a disaster. Phil Kessel just hasn't been at the level that he has been in his career, and the team just really was on a downturn, and the season ending early and having 24 teams move into the playoff preliminary round kind of saved the Coyotes season. The Nashville Predators aren't as good as the Nashville Predators that made the Cup final a few years ago, but they still are a very strong team, and they just have far more depth and far more attacking options than the Coyotes have. So I think the Nashville Predators should be pretty easily able to win this series. Next up, Canucks Wild. Minnesota Wild, another team that's on a bit of a downturn. Vancouver Canucks on an upswing, back into a playoff spot. Again, I think the Canucks in this series just have more attacking options, more high-end attacking options. Brock Besser, Elias Pettersson, very talented players. JT Miller had a breakout season and he was fantastic. The Wild have been okay, but not great. They're another team that I think, again, probably was not going to make a 16-team playoff, and then a 24-team playoff is the only reason why they're currently playing now. So I think the Canucks are going to take this one. Flames, Jets. This one is a complete toss-up. The Flames have been inconsistent all year. The Jets have been holding on via Hellebuyck literally carrying this team. Defensively, the Flames have more depth. Offensively, it should be the Jets, especially if Laine can get going. Travis Hamonic opting out of the return to play does really hurt the Flames here. And I think if Hellebuyck is just what he was during the regular season, if the break didn't get to him, the Jets should easily win this series. But the Flames do have a shot at it. I don't think they're good enough to take on the Jets to beat Hellebuyck. I think the Jets just have more to give in a 5-game series, so I think the Jets are going to go through. And also at the same time as the play-in round, we have the round robin. So the top 4 teams in each conference in this round robin. For the East, I think it's going to go Bruins, Caps, Lightning, Flyers. The Bruins were just the best team in the NHL all season, so I think they're going to continue that and be right back on it when this round robin starts. The Washington Capitals I can see moving ahead of Tampa in one game. I feel like Alex Ovechkin is going to be really pushing hard for another cup here, and that the Capitals as a whole are just going to be pushing, and I think they have potential to regain a bit of that 2018 Stanley Cup form. The Lightning have a lot of high-end talent, a lot of depth. They're a very, very good team, but I don't really know what to make of them coming out of a break here. They are a good team, but I think the Caps might just have a little more to give right now. And the Philadelphia Flyers, they're going to have a lot to give, but just in terms of pure talent, they just don't really compare to these other 3 teams. They're very good, but they also were very, very hot going into the break. And right before the season was cut short, they jumped up several places in the standings to sneak into this top 4 bracket. So while the other 3 teams in this bracket were all pretty much in the top 4 for the entire season, the Flyers were not, and just at the last second before the season ended, jumped into that top 4. So they just haven't been consistent enough throughout the season to prove that they deserve to be there, in my opinion. In the Western Conference, we have St. Louis Blues, Golden Knights, Avalanche, Stars. The Blues, reigning Stanley Cup champions, they did not at all have a Stanley Cup hangover going into the season. They were great right out the bat in the regular season. Jordan Binnington is a fantastic goalie. The team overall just has fantastic depth in all positions. They probably should come first in the round robin. Then the Vegas Golden Knights. Of the other 2 teams here, they have the most recent playoff experience besides the Blues, obviously. And I think they are going to recognize the importance of a high seed and also have the depth and talent to probably take out the Avalanche and Stars in games. The Colorado Avalanche probably have the best high-end talent of any team here, but also maybe not the greatest depth. Fully healthy McKinnon, Rantanen, Landeskog line is going to be incredible. And then Nazem Kadri centering the second line is going to be very good for them. Honestly, their entire success in this playoff is going to come down to how well that top line can perform, and if they get shut down, they could be screwed, and if anyone on that line gets injured, they could be screwed. But coming into the preliminary round and that top line firing on cylinders is going to be very good. And then fourth in this round, I'm going to have the Dallas Stars, the Stars. To be fully honest, I was surprised when I realized that they were in the round robin and not in the preliminary round. But they do have some nice pieces on defense. They have some recent playoff experience, but nothing of long runs. That's not going to matter in this round robin. But I just don't think they're on the same level as the Blues and Golden Knights, and they just don't have the absolute three-headed monster that is the Colorado Avalanche's top line. So while they are very good, I just don't see them on the exact same level as these three other teams. So after the preliminary round, because the NHL did something right and there's reseeding, this is what my round of 16 is going to look like. So first up in the Eastern Conference, Boston Bruins, Florida Panthers. The Bruins are just better in pretty much every position than the Panthers. They just have far more depth. They're far tougher, far more playoff experienced. They should easily take this series. Replay of the 2017 playoff series, Caps Leafs. These Leafs are quite a bit different than the 2017 Leafs that the Capitals beat. You got Austin Matthews, Mitch Marner, William Nylander all playing better. John Tavares is on the team now. Tyson Barrie, Jake Muzzin are on the team now. The Leafs are just going to be a far, far better team. And I think what's very underrated about the Leafs going into this playoffs, and something that people haven't talked about, is that for the basically first time since the second game of the season, they're going to have a fully healthy Morgan Rielly. People forget that Morgan Rielly was being considered in the Norris Trophy voting last season. When he's fully healthy, he can be a top 5 defenseman in the NHL, as I think last season he showed. So the Leafs, I think and hope, are a lot better than a lot of people think they currently are because of that. The Capitals, very good, but I think a fully healthy Leafs team, which we haven't seen at all this season, is probably better. Lightning, Hurricanes. Two weather-based names. This actually is going to be a hell of a matchup. I love the Carolina Hurricanes and just the way they play. The Tampa Bay Lightning have so much high-end talent, and you know after what happened last season when they should have won the Stanley Cup, honestly, with the team they had, that they're going to be hungry to make up for it this year. And I think they realize that this right now is their window to win the Stanley Cup. So while the Hurricanes are a very, very good team, I think the Lightning are just slightly better in every position. So the Tampa Bay Lightning are going to take this series. Flyers, Penguins. Oh-wee! This is a fantastic matchup anytime it happens. These two teams hate each other like no one else does almost. Voracek and Giroux versus Crosby and Malkin. They're very even. The Penguins obviously have better top-end offensive talent, but I think the Flyers do win some matchups in terms of toughness and depth. It's going to be a very, very close series, but I think the Pittsburgh Penguins know how to win playoff series. They've done it a lot recently. They've been here before. Sidney Crosby is always hungry for more cups, so I think the Pittsburgh Penguins should be able to edge a win out of this one. To the West, Blues, Jets. These two teams were quite similar, and then the Jets had the other dismantling that happened to them last summer. Last year's Winnipeg Jets came very close to being the St. Louis Blues. This year's Winnipeg Jets, I don't think have it in them. I don't think they're quite as good. Connor Hellebuyck could shut the Blues down, but the Blues also have Jordan Binnington, who's very good in his own right. So I think the St. Louis Blues just have the depth, have much better defense, much better right side defense especially. So I think the St. Louis Blues, they know what they're doing. They're going to take the series. Vegas Golden Knights, Vancouver Canucks. This one, I think the Golden Knights just have more playoff experience. The Canucks are still a very young team, very inexperienced in the playoffs. Overall, I think the Knights just have a better team, more depth, better in more positions, better defensively. Marc-Andre Fleury has been basically reborn in Vegas, and I have high hopes for his form in these playoffs. I think the Golden Knights should be able to take down the Canucks. Avalanche, Predators. The Predators have playoff experience. The Avalanche have the talent. Honestly, after the moves the Avalanche made this offseason, I was saying that they are probably major cup contenders. They were my choice in the summer for the Western Conference team to go to the Cup Finals, and I know that they are for sure far too good to go in the first round, so the Avalanche are my pick to take this one. And then Stars, Oilers. The Stars are much better defensively, but the Edmonton Oilers have the most dynamic offensive players in the world. So that's going to be a very solid matchup. Really, it's just going to be a question of, can the Stars contain McDavid and Draisaitl, but almost no one can contain McDavid and Draisaitl. If McDavid and Draisaitl are slowed down and the Oilers can't get anything from any secondary sources, Sagan and Ben could tear them apart. But honestly, I think we're going to see some special things from Connor McDavid this playoffs. This is really his first real shot and the Oilers' first real shot on with him to put together a solid playoff run. So I think the Oilers probably going to have a slight edge over the Stars and take this series. So after the second round reseeding, we have this. First Eastern Conference matchup. Second round, we have the Lightning and the Pens. This is a very good matchup. Two very strong teams. The Penguins, Crosby, Malkin. The Lightning, Kucherov, Stamkos. I think the Lightning have the offensive talent that the Penguins do, maybe a bit more, and they also have some crazy defense. Hedman, Sergachev, just a solid defensive group. Plus, Vasilevsky has been a bit better recently than Matt Murray has. Matt Murray's fallen off a bit. Tristan Jarry is the Penguins starter now, I think. So I think the Tampa Bay Lightning probably have the better team in this matchup. They're probably going to take the Penguins. St. Louis Oilers. The Oilers have high-end talent. The St. Louis Blues are experts at shutting teams down. The Oilers, yes, the top-end talent is there, but they just don't have anywhere near the depth to match the Blues, and they don't have the defensive talent to match the Blues. So the St. Louis Blues are going to take this one. Vegas Avs, another example of high-end talent versus solid depth. But the Avs have more depth than the Oilers, and the Vegas don't have as much depth as the Blues. So I think in this case, it's going to be one where the high-end talent does take control, and the Colorado Avalanche have a very good group of players with them. So I think this is one where the Avs are going to take it. Now, conference finals. Bruins Lightning. This is the matchup of the gods. Two very talented teams. Two teams who both are pissed off because they think they both should have won the cup last year, and they're both probably pretty right. These two teams would have been the top two picks to win the cup last year, and the Tampa Bay Lightning knocked out in the first round, embarrassed by the Columbus Blue Jackets. Boston Bruins, Game 7 loss to the St. Louis Blues in the finals. Both of these teams want the cup bad. Both of these teams know this is their time to win a cup. It's going to be incredibly close. The difference is the Bruins are tougher, the Bruins are meaner, the Bruins are badder. The Bruins have better experience playing high offensive teams like the Lightning, like the Leafs. The Bruins are going to be coming off a series against the Leafs where they're basically going to be learning how to beat a team like the Lightning. And even if that's not the case, they've done it against the Leafs in the past 2 years. So the Bruins, I think, know how to take down teams like the Lightning. The Lightning are going to need to adapt their game. And I don't know how congested the schedule is going to be in this playoffs, if they're going to be able to do that. So I think the Boston Bruins are going to win this one. And now, Blues Avs. Honestly, I really like the Colorado Avalanche this season. I really like the group that they've assembled. The reason why they probably didn't top the Western Conference this year was because they were doing some pretty serious injuries to Rantanen and Landeskog. Everyone back, everyone healthy. They probably go to the Cup Finals, easy. St. Louis Blues, very good, can contain, but I don't know if they can contain that. And the Avs have some solid secondary scoring options on top of that. They probably have a lot more depth than the Oilers do. So I think the Colorado Avalanche are going to take this and move on to the Cup Final. And with that, this 2020 Stanley Cup Finals will be the Boston Bruins versus the Colorado Avalanche. Nazem Kadri is going to have to play Boston again. Yeah, we all know how that goes. So the Avs are probably going to fall victim to Kadri against the Bruins, which is going to be really sad. Or Kadri gets over it. Honestly, this series may be decided with whether or not Nazem Kadri gets suspended. If Kadri gets suspended, the Bruins win. If Kadri doesn't get suspended, he can be a fantastic performer. Imagine a Kadri against the Bruins that doesn't get suspended, what he could do to them. Overall, I think the Bruins have a bit more depth. It probably will come down to the Kadri factor. And also, if one of the Avs' big three forwards gets injured, they're done. So I think there's just too much that can go wrong for Colorado. that Boston can survive a couple of injuries and still be fine. One of the Marchand, Bergeron, Pastrnak group can get injured, and I think the Bruins would be better equipped to handle one of those three getting injured than the Avs would be to handle one of Landeskog, Rantanen, or McKinnon getting injured. So I think the Bruins are going to take this and win the 2020 Stanley Cup. So there you have it. That's how I think the 2020 extended Stanley Cup playoffs are going to play out. Let me know in the comment section how you think this is going to work. Let me know what teams you think I've overrated. Let me know which teams you think I've underrated. And as always, if you like this video, hit like. If you want to see more of my stuff, hit subscribe. Follow me on Twitter. Link is down below in the description, and I will see you next time.